Let's review together the points to be taken into account when performing a classic haircut. Number 1. Light to medium wavy fine hair. Number 2. Growth direction on the sides towards the back. Number 3. Sufficient density in the area of the nape and the prominence of the occipital bone. Number 4. Sufficient density at the top to allow for versatile styling. As long as the model meets most of these requirements, we will be sure that the final work will be adjusted to the morphological features of the subject. This is the difference between working and doing a custom job. Before we start our work, we will make sure to prepare the hair and organize our procedures. To do this, we will imagine to divide the skull into 3 areas: upper, middle, and lower. We will first tackle the middle area, continuing with the upper part and finishing with the lower area or contour zone. Since the upper area is really long, we will open a lateral line that will allow us to delimit this section with the middle part. In this way, the hair in the upper area will not make it difficult for us to see the middle area, nor the execution of the sectioning and cutting of this part of the skull. We will see that this division ends up being projected towards the occipital bone. This is due to the fact that we will try to fill in the area above the occipital bone, because this part of the skull lacks roundness but is rather flattened. We will start cutting from the sideburns area, creating a diagonal section of approximately 1 cm thick. We will cut this first section on its own base, without creating any over direction, and proceeding to work each new section on each new base. So that everyone understands this technique, it is a matter of cutting using the guide of the previously cut section. Section 1 is cut on its base. Section 2 is cut on its base by dragging Section 1 guide. Section 3 is cut on its base by dragging Section 2 guide. Due to the excess length, we will have to project the sectioning of the middle area to the lower area or contour zone. Once the central vertex has been reached, we will finish this first part of our work and change sides to proceed in the same way. Again, we will start the process by dividing the hair by means of a line that delimits the upper area with the middle area. This line should be placed right at the intersection of both areas, neither too high nor too low. Since we are creating the sketch of our work, our guide on the opposite side will be extracted visually. However, we must make sure that the guides on both sides are as similar as possible. Once we have our guide, we can continue to move forward section by section, keeping in mind that we will always cut on the base of each new section. We will follow the procedure projecting each new section to the vertex of the occipital bone, where the works on both sides must connect. When proceeding on the upper area, we will first start by working on the back of the upper area. To do this, we will create a section parallel to the imaginary vertex that goes from one ear. This new division must pass right through the highest point of the skull, known as the apex. What we are looking for in this process is to fit the middle zone with the projection part of the upper area. This part will start on the apex until it reaches the frontal area or fringe. To integrate the back of the upper area with the middle area, we will divide this area into two, creating a vertical line that goes from the apex to the prominence of the occipital bone. We will move the hair sideways until we find the guide of the previously cut hair. Once the guide is located, we will align all the hair to be cut on this point, trying to create a parallelism on the diagonal cutting vector that we had created previously. Observation: as long as we work with a lot of hair density, it is convenient to carry out this process in 2 or 3 parts, so that our cutting lines flow more precisely. We will perform this gesture on both sides, and when we have them ready, we will move on to the remaining part of our upper area. Since we are looking again to create a short to long increment, when the time comes to work on the remaining part of the upper zone, we will divide the remaining area into horizontal sections. In other words, sections that are parallel to the vertex that goes from one ear to the other. And we will cut our first section at 180 degrees on the base of the apex. From here, and because we seek to create an increasing progression towards the fringe, each new section will be cut on this first section. Therefore, our cutting point will always be the same each time we add a new portion of hair. Notice that this type of cutting technique will have a slight variation in those cases where the density is higher or the texture of the hair is thicker. In these cases, the ends of the fringe should be lightened by creating a layered cut that pivots on its own base. Before starting to cut in the contours, we must dry the hair completely to analyze its reaction. In this way, not only we will have a greater precision when working with the clipper, but we will also see immediately how each new gesture is integrated into our work. Once our hair is totally dry, we will start the process by cutting with a clipper. For this task, we will use a number 2 attachment and we will keep the blade of the clipper open to cut, creating texture. We will work with the clipper following the direction of the hair growth and, in this case, also the direction of the styling. With this gesture, we seek to reduce the excess volume created by the waviness of the hair. In this way, we will get the hair to settle on the skull, achieving a more polished silhouette when combing the hair. Next, we will proceed to work on the contours, starting with one of the areas of the temporal bone. We will use the clipper with open blade and without attachment. We will cut from the sideburn at the height of the ear tragus to the top of the ear helix. Then we will use the machine with a number 2 attachment and keeping the blade open at all times. We will cut projecting to the previously cut area. As we can see, the clipper does not exert any pressure on the hair. It's practically worked by freehand. Next, we will continue cutting with a number 1 attachment and open blade. This time, we will work on the transition line from light to dark. As we can see in the images, we work with the corner of the blade to adjust the cut minimally. Finally, we will remove the attachment and go over the contour with a closed blade and finish the task by polishing the area worked on with the clipper over comb technique. We will duplicate exactly the same process on the opposite side. This clipper technique allows us in a very short time to create a soft, subtle, classic fade-in. This is known as taper. It is only 4 steps. Memorize them and practice them daily to master this technique. When working on the neck area, we will again use the same technique shown in the process above. But in this case, we will incorporate a small variant. Let's review the method. First, clipper with open blade. Second, clipper with open blade and number 2 attachment. Third, clipper with open blade and number 1 attachment. Fourth, clipper with closed blade and number 1 attachment. This last step was the modification to take into account, and the reason is simply that the hair density is usually higher in the upper part of the neck than in the area of the sideburns. Therefore, the greater the amount of hair, the more our cutting processes tend to be. To finish integrating these new cutting processes, we will finish with clipper over comb technique to achieve a better blending. Notice that this technique is used to smoothen transitions from light to dark. As shown in the video, the comb should always work parallel to the master line. In other words, the line that delimits the step from light to dark. Eventually, it will be necessary to fix with small touches this transition. To do so, we will get back to our clipper and we will gradually work from fully open blade with number 1 attachment to fully closed blade with number 1 attachment to fully open blade without attachment. For the latest steps, we will use the trimmer to fine detailing the entire contour, going around the sideburns, ears and neckline as shown in the video. Once achieving this step, we will finish the cutting process, giving the last touches with scissor over comb, following the same cutting vectors we used when cutting by clipper over comb before. To finish, we will conclude our work by doing a classic hairstyle, for which we will moisten the hair with water, apply some water-based pomade and finish with some oil-based pomade. We hope you enjoyed this video, and now it's your turn. Remember that the result will always vary depending on the morphological features of each individual, so it is important that you meet the requirements mentioned above to obtain a good result. As usual, you will find all the links of the products we use in the description box of this video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next videos.